growing scandal involving Prince Harry and his last remaining genuine charity project, the Invictus Games. But is it really a charity project at all? Is it just being used as a money-making scheme? And is Invictus about to join the list of charities, including African Parks and Centre Bali, that actually will do far, far better with no dodgy involvement from the disgraceful Duke? This is certainly something which is being ignored by the mainstream media. However, there is movement. Look at this from Meg Yacht Grifter, who is now calling on a boycott of the Invictus Games, saying there is something not sitting right with this charity. Charities that have something to hide should not be trusted, especially with so much NGO fraud being exposed in the last few years. And they are calling on Boeing and American Airlines to think twice before donating. When they said Invictus is a scam, the veterans are being used for PR, privately funded faux trips with lavish accommodations and Meghan's merchandising schemes. That's not how charities work. Royal YouTube sensation, according to Taz, added, this is the very reason why everyone who originally worked on and set up Invictus no longer works there. Since leaving the royal fold, the foundation has become a cash cow for Harry and Meghan, and no doubt some others who are involved. It's all bubbling to the surface. And it is bubbling to the surface thanks to Paula Frolic of Paula Frolic Uncensored. She is our guest today. And through her show at News Nation, she has been able to finally get these funding questions about the $63 million Invictus Games spend into the mainstream media. So Paula Frolic is going to be here to blow the whistle on all of this today. But I just want to start by revealing some of the key lines from Paula's brand new and really jaw-dropping reporting this week. And of course, she's been very careful because we know how litigious Prince Harry can be. But this is really extraordinary stuff. So Paula reports, the most recent games held in Vancouver and Whistler in February 2025 brought together 543 wounded military veterans from 23 countries. The total cost, 63.2 million Canadian, or approximately $118,352 per competitor. For comparison, the US Warrior Games, a similar competition for wounded American service members, runs on roughly $2 million a year. Germany's Invictus-style competition costs about $200,000 and involves half as many participants. The public's taxes footed a portion of the bill. According to tax returns on file, the public picked up half the tab for Vancouver, with the Canadian federal government contributing $15 million through the Veterans Affairs Canada and the province of British Columbia contributing another $15 million through its Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Sport. The remaining funds came from approximately 40 corporate partners and about $2.6 million in individual donations. Crucially, that public money didn't flow directly to the games. It was routed through the Vancouver Whistler Games Corporation, which then paid a licensing fee to the Invictus Games Foundation, the British charity that owns and licenses the Games brand. The amount of that licensing fee was oddly redacted. I sense a cover-up. The Invictus Games Foundation, the British charity at the centre of the operation, recently filed its 2024 annual accounts with the UK Charity Commission after a 2-year grace.
8 rows back, visible but not prominent, photographed in a crowd that was mostly there for the basketball, looking like someone who had been invited rather than someone who had been sought. When Prince Harry attended the NBA Finals in San Antonio, it wasn't the courtside view the world is used to seeing global icons occupy. Instead, he was positioned where the cameras only catch you by accident, and the internet noticed instantly. Within minutes, a joke began to spread across social media, noting that the 8th row is roughly where you end up when you are 8th in line to the throne, and nobody in the building has formally decided how to rank you. It was a joke, not a factual argument, but the speed with which it traveled tells us something deeply specific about where the public conversation regarding Harry's status sits right now. If Palace Insiders gives you the full, unvarnished picture that other channels skip, hitting the like button costs absolutely nothing. and it keeps this independent analysis going. The NBA commissioner had reportedly invited Harry to the finals as a personal guest. He attended, and the cameras caught him during a standard broadcast moment. But in the hyper-analyzed world of the Sussex brand, context matters enormously, and the context here is a stark trajectory. A few years ago, Harry's public profile would have commanded a front-row placement almost automatically, not because of who he is as an individual, but because of what his presence communicated to the high-value media environment around the event. The eighth row is not an insult. You can be an honored guest and sit there. But the online commentary reached for a specific vocabulary because the seat itself communicates a shift in his current value to an event's public image. The conversation grew even more uncontrollable when footage surfaced of a brief exchange between Harry and legendary director Spike Lee. Social media users divided sharply based on their existing dispositions. Some read the clip as Harry offering a greeting or a handshake that was not accepted in the way he expected, characterizing Lee's response as dismissive or redirecting. Others maintain the footage was far too brief and ambiguous to support any real conclusion. The clip went viral simply because people wanted it to mean something. It became a projection surface for a pre-existing mood about Harry standing in the elite spaces he is trying to occupy, with critics suggesting that Hollywood power players have quietly turned their backs on the Sussex brand, viewing it as too volatile for public association. This shifting tide isn't just happening in sports arenas. It's playing out in major media institutions, raising questions that point toward a massive revelation about how Harry's public accolades are actually generated. Take his recent inclusion in Time magazine's 100 Most Influential People in Sport. The reaction followed a now familiar pattern of online skepticism, with critics openly questioning the criteria applied. But then, independent observers began mapping something far more specific. Time magazine's ownership structure has documented overlapping relationships with BetterUp, the well-being technology company where Harry serves as chief impact officer. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is a traceable corporate relationship verifiable through public filings. The question observers are asking is whether those corporate connections influence the editorial decision to include Harry in the Time 100. While no one outside the editorial boardroom can answer that with absolute certainty, the overlap creates a structural cost. A connection can exist without determining an outcome, but its mere existence means a shadow of doubt now travels with every high-profile recognition Harry receives. It becomes impossible to detach the honor from the corporate network behind it. Subscribe to Palace Insiders so you never miss what we cover next, and make sure to turn on notifications to stay completely updated. While you are doing that, drop your take in the comments below. Do you think the BetterUp and Time magazine connection influenced his recognition, or is the public reading too much into a circumstantial corporate overlap? Beyond media accolades, a much larger storm is gathering over Harry's crowning achievement, the Invictus Games. What began as a charitable event costing $1 million in its first year with 400 competitors has ballooned into a staggering $63 million enterprise for just an extra 140 participants. This massive budget inflation has triggered intense scrutiny, spearheaded by an independent researcher named Rachel Maxwell. Painstakingly cross-referencing public financial documents, Maxwell exposed a reported 63% drop in direct grants to veterans organizations during the exact same period that the organization's total income increased, all while a new six-figure executive role was added to the payroll.
So I have to talk about the Invictus Games controversy again for a second, because what is going on here and why so shady? So there's a mysteriously redacted $30 million tied to the 2025 Invictus Games in Canada, and people are asking a very reasonable question. Why is a veterans charity budget blacked out like it's a CIA document? What are they hiding? It's not partially redacted, not a few names. The entire thing looked like someone attacked it with a Sharpie. Why redacted? There is absolutely no commercial reason, no privacy reason, no national security reason for a budget to be redacted. And critics are now alleging that this money may have gone toward luxury expenses, private jets, five-star hotels, insane security, fancy transportation for Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. instead of directly helping veterans. What the bloody hell? Meanwhile, reports are claiming that the game's budget topped over $63 million, yet allegedly only a tiny percentage actually went towards athlete support and equipment. I'm sorry, what? Isn't this supposed to be a charity? People online are doing the math and are saying, you're telling me this money could have gone towards prosthetics, rehab, mental health support, housing, gone towards helping actual veterans? Yet it's being spent on Meghan Markle and Prince Harry? How is this being allowed? How is a redacted budget accepted? And here's where it gets weirder. A journalist posts the redacted documents online, and apparently the Invictus Canada website goes down within hours. Then magically comes back with the documents removed. That's not exactly screaming, nothing to see here, nothing to see. Also, Boeing reportedly pulled their sponsorship after this financial controversy. Don't blame them. Good on you, Boeing. The internet wants answers. Because if this is a charity for veterans, why does the budget look like classified UFO files? If you ain't got nothing to hide, show us what the budget looked like before you redacted all that information, huh?
This is a real blow for Prince Harry's Invictus Games. Prince Harry and the Royal Foundation established the Invictus Games, which is a great organisation to help injured and sick former service personnel. It's coming to Birmingham in England next year, and Harry's coming here in July to promote the Games. But he suffered a blow, which is the vice chairman of the Invictus Games Birmingham has quit only 18 months after she was appointed. They've said she wants to concentrate on her other activities, but she had these activities when she took this role. She's a very distinguished figure, Melanie Poole, but she won't be involved in the Games any longer. The Invictus Games is a big deal for Harry. It's his last remaining charity now. You might remember that he pulled out as patron of Centre Bali, his charity for African orphans, and that became a really acrimonious row. So he really cares about Invictus and wants the Games in Birmingham to be a big success next year. So frankly, he could do without this blow. I've written about this for the Daily Mail. Read my story.
Prince Harry said out of his own mouth he never wanted to be a royal.
But for me, after my mum died just before my 13th birthday, I don't want this job. I don't want this role. Wherever this is headed, I don't like it. It killed my mum, and I was very much against it. And I stuck my head in the sand for years, fingers in the ears, blah, 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 don't want it.
He said after losing Princess Diana, he looked at the system and said no. He saw what it did to her. He didn't want that life. He checked out for years because he already knew what the job was. So stop rewriting history. Harry was not dragged out. He already didn't want it. He later decided to use his platform differently. That's the shift. That's why he built things like the Invictus Games. Real work with real purpose and impact. Not just a photo op and ribbon cutting. He said service helped him. Being around that community reset him. That's where he gets his energy from. Now, let's address the part people keep ignoring. Look at Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales. They're now taking breaks. They work less than King Charles and Princess Anne. And don't give me Kate is recovering from cancer bullshit. Charles is too, and he's older. Maybe, just maybe, royalty isn't the flex royalists make it out to be. It is not a fairy tale. Harry said it. His actions back it up. So blaming Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, makes no sense. Some of you just need someone to blame because your little brain with the low IQ thinks in obtuse linear ways, devoid of critical thinking. He told you he didn't want it. He showed you he didn't want it. He built a life away from it. That's the reality. Get over it. And that's the read. If you like your tea hot, save a seat and follow for more. This is the Notorious JTB, Notoriously Opinionated, signing out.